Ladies and gentlemen, 30 FPS looks a lot more like the real thing than 60 FPS, according to Ubisoft. Now, these statements have caused a lot of controversy. In fact, to say they've caused controversy is more akin to me saying they've caused an internet shitstorm. At Ubisoft, for a long time, we wanted to push 60 FPS. I don't think that was a good idea, because you don't gain that much from 60 FPS, and it doesn't look like the real thing. This is actually according to the world-level designer, Nicholas Gurin, who of course is working on AC Unity. It's a bit like the Hobbit movie. It looked really weird, and indeed, he believes that the industry has now collectively dropped the 60 FPS standard, and that 60 FPS is not that great when it comes to picture and image quality. However, Alex Amencia, who is the creative director, reiterated the cinematic comment that 30 FPS was our goal. It felt more cinematic, and 60 FPS is really good for shooter action. Not so much. It really feels better when it's actually at 30 FPS. It lets us push the limit of everything to the maximum. It's like when people start asking about the resolution, is the number or the quality of pixels what you want? If the game looks gorgeous, who cares about the number? End quote. You know, I have to say, these statements, as I said, on the usual places like NeoGAF, Reddit, and so on, they've got quite a lot of controversy already. They're multiple page threads these things tend to be. And large critics have also started to comment on this. And here's the problem I've got with it. If you want to go with the fact that you say, look, with our title, with the consoles, with the performance levels that they've got, we feel that the better aesthetic fits in with a lower frame rate so we can put more stuff on screen, fine. No one would have an issue with that. Some people might say, well, I wish the game was at 60, but I don't think it would cause so much of an argument. People would just say, okay, well, I think most gamers would say, okay, fine. If that's what you think works best for your game, it would probably cause less of a controversy. The problem I've got with this statement, however, is you're trying to objectively state that 30 FPS is more cinematic. Because first of all, it doesn't even work like that. Because in gaming, you've actually got to interact with the medium. So immediately you're increasing the latency with the controls. Now, if you've got access to a decent gaming rig, which I'm imagining many people have, you can objectively stylish yourself by just putting a frame rate limiter on titles. Just simply do it and see the difference. It's pretty profound in many cases between 30 and 60 FPS. With the animation looking choppier, it just doesn't feel so good to play. Now, I'm not saying that all games require 60 FPS, because that's a load of bollocks as well. Not all titles benefit heavily from 60 FPS. However, would they be all better at 60 FPS? From the very basic standpoint of more animation, better quality animation, and so on and so forth, then yes. Alien Isolation, I've been actually doing some benchmarking on and so on for the consoles, and right now the title is 30 FPS. However, you know what? I'm fairly early on both versions of the title, because I'm basically having to play the PS4 version and the Xbox One and the PC, so it's taking a bit of time. I've actually had someone in helping me today, recording it and editing it. But yes, the PC version does play better because of the higher frame rate, but you know what? So far, 30 FPS for Aliens isn't that big of a deal. Yes, I'd prefer 60 for the consoles, but it's not like it's the end of the world. However, objectively, 60 is better. This conversation can become a little bit stale, but the reason it's getting brought up by everyone is because developers continue to try and push this in exactly the same route. The guys over at Ready at Dawn said, they said, well, 30 FPS has a more cinematic feel. Maybe in trailers, you know, with YouTube compression or whatever, you know, okay, fine. But objectively, when you're playing it, it makes a huge difference. And once again, I'm not one of those gamers who is like, yes, it has to be. Despite the fact that I am a graphics core, and I do prefer PC gaming, for consoles, for frame rate, it doesn't bother me on a lot of titles. To be honest, 30 FPS on Assassin's Creed, fine. I could deal with that quite happily. But it does start pissing me off when these statements start coming out. And the thing that I don't understand, the thing that really baffles me, is then you get people who vehemently defend the position, or vehemently defend the studio, which even confuses me even further, to be honest. I just wish studios wouldn't feel the need to constantly try this whole PR thing, because that's really what it is. And the resolution argument I will tackle for a second. I'm not going to go with the whole parity thing, because I've rinsed that to death. Personally, just for your FYI, if you've not seen my previous video, my personal standpoint is that I think each platform should look the best that it can, period. Because, yes, you're going to have people who complain, but that's just the nature of things, and it's always been like that. And parity for the sake of parity, it doesn't make it better. It's just basically, it's then saying, well, you're a PS4 owner, so you can't have better graphics because the Xbox One isn't as powerful. That just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, but to a more wider way of speaking about this, and actually the quality of the pixels, you know, it's difficult, because while objectively higher levels of pixels on screen, it does look better. If you're having to sacrifice the overall image or aesthetic of the game, examples of this, pure examples, would be the frame rate dips even further. For example, you start getting dips at like 27 or 26 frames a second quite frequently, then something's got to give. You have inferior shadow quality, or you've got to start lowering the draw distance, or whatever the case may be for that title. Then sure, I can understand the argument that yes, it's better to go with a slightly lower resolution. And that's all there is to it, really. The annoying thing is, to me, my personal standpoint on this, is that I respect Ubisoft in terms of their IPs, and for the most part I think they're quite cool to gamers. I do. It's just sometimes when companies make these annoying statements, when they make these PR-y type of statements, it just rubs me the wrong way. And that's all there is to it, really. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Apologies for being a bit ranty, but anyway, I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.